Welcome back into the Bears Den, an NFL podcast with a Chicago Bears first focus. I'm your host, Alex, and it's Tuesday today. We're about three and a half weeks before the start of the 2024 regular season, and I decided, you know what, it's time to go ahead. We'll do my game by game picks for the Chicago Bears season, kind of see where I have their record and their season playing out with, a completely overhauled offense. So let's go ahead. We'll get into it right away. I'm using the playoff predictor site. If you guys haven't used this site before, definitely recommend it. Really fun. I do it with my friends a lot. Kind of just going through. You can pick each game, and it updates the record live, and then you can pretty much pick out the entire season and see what happens and do different scenarios and stuff. So it's really cool. But we're going to be picking just the Bears today. I'm thinking that I'm going to probably do the entire NFC North, their schedules, as weeks go on leading up to the regular season. But we're going to do just the Bears today. Keep it easy. And so we know the Bears starting the season week 1 home against Tennessee. I think this is a win. I think, Tennessee had one of the, worst defenses last year. Pretty sure they were top 10. Will Levis showed some promise, also showed some struggle. We don't know which version of him we're going to get yet, but I just think that, the Titans, especially with, it's going to be a new coaching staff in their first game, no more Derrick Henry. I think Soldier Field is going to be just absolutely electric. And, I think Caleb Williams is really going to have a good debut. I think that, this receiving core, DeAndre Swift, Khalil Herbert, these guys are going to be able to move the ball efficiently. Against this poor Titans defense. Of course, this is all based off of last season, so things could be different. But I think that this should be a pretty easy win by the Bears, assuming that, Caleb Williams comes out and doesn't just completely struggle and the moment is too big for him. I don't think that's going to happen. Some people might think that, but I think this is a pretty, this is about as comfortable as it gets for a week 1 game, at home against a below average team, I would say, at least from last year's standards. And I think it's a good way for the Bears to start 1-0, and I assume that that's what's going to happen. I see the Bears winning this game by 10 plus points. And as we're doing this, the Bears record will be updating over here on the right. So if you guys want to keep track of that, there you can. We're going to week 2. Of course, week 2, this is a big one, right? On the road, Sunday Night Football, prime time already for this new Bears team. On the road in Houston. Depends, right? This one could go either way. If Caleb's, game really kind of just transfers right away and he's just doing what he was doing at USC, but here with this really good defense and, DJ Moore, Keenan Allen, Cole Kmet, Rome, DeAndre Swift, Bears could win this one, right? I think that this Bears team has more weapons than Houston, but I'm going to give Houston this win. I think that, this is one that truly could go either way, but I think, there's a good chance that this one's a shootout too, but I just think that, on the road, first primetime game, I don't want to say that I think the moment's going to be too big, but I just think that I could see the Bears falling in a close game. There's a world where I see them winning as well. Just kind of depends, right? Just kind of depends. But, as of right now, I'm going to give the Bears an L here. You got to give respect to Houston with their deep playoff run last year, how Stroud looked. They got more weapons. They got Stephon Diggs now, right? So, there's going to be plays where we got Jalen Johnson covering Diggs maybe, and Nico Collins or Tank Dell might be getting through, right? So we're going to have to think about that as well. And they have Joe Mixon as well. So they are definitely dangerous on offense. Just depends, I could see this being a shot if the Bears can keep up on offense, then maybe we can pull it out. But I'm going to give Houston this win here. The Bears are 1-1 through 2 weeks. All right, week 3, Bears on the road again. 3 straight AFC South games to start off the season. A really kind of good way for Caleb to get his feet wet in the NFL. 3 games against the AFC. We all know, if you drop a game or 2 against the AFC, it's not as impactful for your hopes for the playoffs as if you're dropping to NFC opponents. So really, really good. The Colts, we don't know what they're gonna get, right? They were 30 yards away from maybe making the playoffs last year, right? And taking that spot from Houston. Um, what are we going to get from Anthony Richardson? We saw some good things in his limited playing time last year. They still have Jonathan Taylor. But with that being said, I think, I like Anthony Richardson. I think he's got some pretty good talent, and I'm hoping that we get to see him develop. But I'm going to give this win to the Bears just because I think that the Bears offense will kind of outclass the Bears defense in this game. I think that this one could be maybe a competitive game for a bit, but I think I see the Bears pulling away later in the game just because of the amount of talent that this team has. And as we move forward here, as we're just about through week 3, I'm kind of having this Bears trajectory as like a most aspects of Caleb's game transfer in, but he will have some growing pains, right? So, we're going to see some of the crazy stuff. We're going to see the scramble plays. We're going to see the running. We're going to see the, wicked throws and runs, the, circus plays in the pocket. We're also going to see some of those where, you know, he's scrambling and he's getting sacked, and maybe he's losing the ball, or he's scrambling around and he tries to throw on the run and he gets picked or something like that. So, kind of just like a roller coaster development, but it's going to be hopefully trending upwards. So that's how I'm projecting it so far. Bears are 2-1 through 3 weeks. Week 4 of the NFL season, the Bears are at home against the Rams. Okay. Sunday game. See, this one's a tough one for me, right? Because there's a lot of it factors here. Is Matthew Stafford going to be healthy at this point? If he is, that's a team with Puka Nacua and Cooper Kupp, and they're able to move the ball, right? But this is also a Rams team without Aaron Donald. They lost Aaron Donald. How much of a loss is that going to be for that Rams defense? That's hard to tell right now. This one's hard to say. This one's really hard to say. We know that Caleb Williams idolizes and looks up to Matthew Stafford, thinks he's, top 2 in the league. This Rams team is interesting. Sean McVay, right, versus Matt Eberflus. I would say, as of what we know right now and what we've seen, quite the coaching gap there, right? It's a tough one. Bears at home, it leads me to wanting to give them this win because the game at home. And I'm going to give it to the Bears because they're at home. But this is one that I really think could go either way. It just depends, like, if Matt Stafford's healthy, how is he going to look? And how is the Rams defense going to look without Aaron Donald, right? Because they're not going to have that upfront immediate pressure that they're used to having for all these years. So the quarterback, Caleb Williams might have some extra time. Can the Rams secondary defend our receiving core for long enough? I'm going to give it to the Bears just because I think the Aaron Donald loss is going to impact this team. And because it's early in the season, I think it's going to impact the team more than it will later in the season. I think, the Rams will kind of learn to readjust and they'll figure out their new style of defense. I think at this point, they might still be kind of figuring out their way. And so I'm going to give it to the Bears. And that's hoping that Caleb Williams is feeling pretty comfortable at this rate in week 4. But we'll see. Week 5, Carolina. I'm going to give this one to the Bears. I don't really have to think about this one too much. Do you think Carolina is going to be better than they were last year? I could see this being a 5 or 6 win team with Dave Canales as their new coach. I don't think that their roster is still super talented yet, but I think that with an offensive coach, Bryce Young should hopefully get to develop a bit and have a pretty good season. And Panthers fans will see some improvement, which will be exciting. But Bears at home. Bears beat Carolina last year at home with Tyson Bagent at quarterback, so I think this really should not be a problem. And kind of how I predicted when I first saw the schedule months ago, Bears 4-1 through week 5. I think that's definitely reasonable. I think 3-2 is also a high possibility with that Rams game, but I don't see them dropping this home game to Carolina. I think, that would have to be an epic meltdown for that to happen. Going into week 6, this is the London game at Jacksonville, and I'm gonna give this one to Jacksonville. I know that that's kind of like their home, like they play there a lot and they win a lot in Jacksonville. I think that if this game were at Soldier Field, maybe I'm picking the Bears, because I don't know if Jacksonville's going to be that good, right? Like we've seen good Trevor Lawrence, and then we saw him in the back half of last year be bad Trevor Lawrence. So it's what version are we getting? What are we doing in Jacksonville, right? How are they going to look? But I'm going to give it to Jacksonville. I just think, the London games, I'm not a huge fan of them personally. I get why they do it. I get that there's a huge Bears fan base out there. But Jacksonville, they win. They win a lot. Even when they were bad and they were going to London, they were winning games. So I see this one going to Jacksonville just kind of based off of how history repeats itself. I think Jacksonville's a decent team, but it just depends really what version of Trevor Lawrence are we getting. And yeah, so Bears are 4-2. All right, week 7. Bears are on a bye week 7, so we'll move along here. 4-2 with the bye. Not bad. I would definitely be happy with that, right? Coming off of bye week, number 1 overall pick versus number 2 overall pick, Jaden Daniels. On the road in Washington. It's a tough one. It's a tough one, right? This team blew out Washington last season. Okay. Now it's like they have Austin Eckler, still have Terry McLaurin. How is Jaden Daniels gonna look? I'm giving this one to the Bears on the road for now. But if you ask me in a month and a half, when we're 3 or 4 weeks in and we've seen Washington play and we see how Jaden Daniels is looking, my opinion might change. Okay. I thought he looked pretty decent in the first preseason game, kind of showcased that deep shot up the right sideline, showed some of his mobility, scored that touchdown. I think that he's going to be a pretty good NFL quarterback. I really do. Um, I think that Washington definitely made the correct choice by picking him second overall instead of taking someone like Drake May or JJ McCarthy. But I think, you know, their defense got gutted last year, right? We took Montez Sweat. San Francisco took Chase Young. They lost really kind of premier edge rushers on defense. And I think that, that's going to hurt them. But we'll see how Jaden Daniels is looking. Like I said, maybe in a month, a little bit over a month, maybe my opinion changes on this game. But as of right now, I have this team at 5-2. And look, people may think that, this is crazy, but you got to look at where the team was last year. The team won 7 games last year, and you're expecting a big upgrade at quarterback play, at running back play with DeAndre Swift, and, continuity on the defensive side. So that stuff matters, right? So 5-2 with a cakewalk schedule so far is doable, and I think that it's realistic. And I don't think I'm being biased. If you guys think I am being biased, let me know down below. Perhaps I don't see it, but I don't really think I am. Week 9. Okay, so we're getting into October, November already. Week 9, Bears on the road in Arizona. Like this one looks like another win to me, right? Maybe I'm crazy for having the Bears at 6-2, but this team beat Arizona last year. It's the same thing as last week. This team beat Arizona last year, so I expect them to be able to beat them this year with an improved offense and continuity on the defense. I think that's something that's very realistic. Excuse me. They do have Marvin Harrison Jr., but we haven't seen anything from him yet. So how is he going to look? Uh, you know, is he going to be mentally in it? We've seen some weird kind of stuff coming out so far this year with him and that whole thing. It's kind of strange, and it's really looking like Malik Neighbors and Rome Odunze were, you know, really good picks. So we'll see. But it's on the road. I don't think that matters, right? The Bears played well last year against this team. I think they should be able to beat them again this year, no problem, even though it's on the road. 6-2 going into week 10, and oh look, another easy opponent based off of last year. We don't know how New England's going to look this year with Gerard Mayo as their new coach. Roster has a ton of holes. They just cut Juju Smith-Schuster, and we saw a little bit of Drake May. It was really just handoffs, and we saw some pretty good things from Joe Milton. So when Week 10 rolls around, who's going to be under center in New England? We don't know. Could be Drake May, could be Joe Milton. I don't know. But I'm giving this to the Bears because I just don't think New England's going to be that good this year. I think that their roster is pretty limited, and you know I see them maybe being 5-win team, and kind of looking towards next year and building up the team. I think that they're getting some right pieces moving forward, but this game's at home, and I think Caleb at this point would probably really, really be in his groove, and I think the Bears will be cooking at this point. Week 11. Now it gets interesting, okay? Here comes the entire division, okay? And I don't have the other divisions done right now, but we'll see kind of where the teams are at. I expect Green Bay to be quite good. I expect Minnesota to be pretty bad this year. I don't think Sam Darnold's really going to be keeping this team in a positive spot, but I do think that, maybe if JJ McCarthy comes in around this time, week 11, maybe they could pick up some wins. But I think Detroit is going to start off hot, and I think they're going to take a step back this year in the middle of the season. I think that's where I'm at. We see teams like that sometimes that have a huge breakdown in the playoffs and choke a game like that. They really kind of struggle next year. I mean, look at the 2018 Bears, right? And I know that team maybe wasn't as good or as aggressive as that Detroit team from last year, but that team, the Bears team in 2018, had Super Bowl hopes, and they, get hit with the double doink. And what happens, right? What happens in 2019? So I remember the expectations going into that season, right? This is the year we're going to the Super Bowl. You know, let's go. And then they just are terrible, right? So week 11, here we are. I think the Bears are going to split against Green Bay this year. I really do. I think that, I say that because, of course, week 1 last year was a terrible loss. We got destroyed. I'm not even going to try and hide that. But that week 18 game on the road in Lambeau, I was at that game. With better quarterback play, I think the Bears actually win that game. Because the defense was keeping us in it, right? Like, I vividly remember Jordan Love scrambling along the right side in the third or fourth quarter, fumbling the ball and giving us a chance to get back in it, right? The Bears lost that game by 8 points. So I think with better quarterback play, the Bears could have maybe won that game and kept Green Bay out of the playoffs. So with all the upgrades this year, I think that the Bears at home will take this game. But I do think they will lose in Lambeau in week 18. So right now, Bears 8-2. So that sounds crazy to say. And they're going to be 9-2 because I don't think Minnesota is going to be very good. I really don't think they're going to be good this year. I like 5-6 win team maybe, right? Excuse me. I just think that I think Kevin O'Connell's a good coach. I think that obviously they have one of the best receivers in the game, Justin Jefferson, but it's just Sam Darnold to me is a downgrade from Kirk Cousins, and perhaps in this system with Kevin O'Connell, maybe he'll find his career rejuvenation. Maybe he'll have a Geno Smith moment. Maybe he'll have a Baker Mayfield in Tampa moment, right? I don't know. That would be cool to see, as long as they're still losing to us. But I don't know. I don't know who's going to be starting at this point. I mean, for all we know, getting into week 12, this could maybe be JJ McCarthy's first actual start, right? And going against our defense at home on the road, there might be snow, there might be weather, which he's played in Michigan, but who knows, right? 9-2 Bears, that seems crazy, but I think it's realistic. Detroit, I'm giving Detroit this win, and here's why. I think I really want to I really want to give the Bears 2 wins against Detroit because the Bears should have had 2 wins against Detroit last year. They should have, right? They beat them at home, and on the road in Detroit, they should have won that game. They choked it. They were up 2 scores with 3 minutes left, and they blew it. With that being said, and I know I just said a couple minutes ago, I think Detroit is going to take a step back in the middle of the season. These divisional games are tough. They're always tough. I think that they've got good pieces. I think that Jared Goff has really kind of found his spot in Detroit, and I think Dan Campbell is one of the best coaches in the league. And so, as much as I want to give this um, win to the Bears, I just don't think that they're going to be able to get both. And it's a tough Detroit team, even if they're struggling in the middle of the season. Like I project this year, I still think they'll take one, and that's just the way it is. Week 14, Bears San Francisco. I'm giving this one to San Francisco. Bears are coming off a mini bye on this one because that Bears Lions game is on Thanksgiving. But I just think San Francisco, we'll see. Maybe this is kind of like the game from earlier. Maybe my mind changes in a month because we got to track the Brandon Ayuk situation. We got to kind of see what's going on there. But with that being said, I think they're the reigning NFC champions from last year. They're still, the Avengers. They have all these different weapons. That stuff matters, and I just think that this will be probably the best defense that Caleb Williams plays against all season, and I project this to be his worst game of the season. I think that this one will kind of see him struggle the most in, and it won't be like a wake up call because he's a rookie, but it will be a like a learning moment. He'll be able to learn during this game and improve off of this. We're going into week 15. We're almost done here. Flying through it. Bears Minnesota. Bears on the road. Like I said, I don't think we're losing to Minnesota. Um, that's just the way it is. I think that um, I already gave an explanation for that, but I just don't think they're going to be very good. Bears Detroit. I think the Bears are going to take this one at home, just like they did last year. Um, and yeah, we talked about this matchup a bit already. Week 17, Bears Seattle. Shane Waldron against his former team. I'm giving it to the Bears. It's hard to say, right? It's hard to say. Um, like this one could be a loss. I don't know how good Seattle will be. Obviously, they've got some good weapons. Depends on how Geno Smith's going to play. New coaching staff too. How's the new coach? How's the team going to look under the new coach? That stuff matters, right? And so we'll see. But this is, we're mid-December here, and or late December here, and this one's in Soldier Field, so that bear weather is going to be a factor, and I just think the Bears will take that one. And then week 18, I'm giving it to Green Bay, and I'm hoping that that game doesn't come down to decide the North, but there you have it, guys. I have Bears going 12-5 this year. There's a couple games that maybe you could change, right? I think 12-5 is definitely reasonable with the schedule. Um, it's a pretty perfect schedule for Caleb Williams to be able to kind of enter the league and be able to ramp up just in time to play all those division games later. Of course, health matters. How healthy are the Bears going to be throughout this year? Are we going to, be at full strength for a lot of the time? That's something that we'll have to see. But I think this is something that's definitely extremely reasonable. Let me know what you guys think down below. Did I give the Bears too many wins? Did I give them not enough wins? Do I have it just right? What games would you change? Give me some reasons down below. I'm really curious on your thoughts. And I think that this is probably the ceiling, and maybe you could give them one more win, right? Maybe you could give them the Rams game. 13 wins seems like a lot though for a team with a rookie quarterback, but who knows, right? And I think that the floor is really kind of like 10 wins, I guess. You could maybe have them getting swept by, Green Bay or Detroit, which I hope that doesn't happen. But um, some things that you can change around. But this is really kind of how I see it going. And let me know what you guys think down below. As always, thanks for hanging out in the den with me. I appreciate you guys, and we'll see you in tomorrow's video. Peace.